Welcome to the Solemn Tones channel. Today I am running you through our brand new Loki Bass 2. Now Loki Bass 2 is essentially the product of years of customer feedback as well as a lot of new experience. And so after making Kraken hybrid bass and getting insane amounts of great feedback, we figured we need to run Loki through this amazing Kraken engine. However, Kraken's samples were also on a way different level than Loki's were. So I personally re-recorded the entire bass, resampled, ran it through the Kraken engine, and that is essentially what gave us a Loki Bass 2. Now if you previously bought Loki 1, you get Loki Bass 2 for free, so it should already be waiting for you in your mailbox. If that isn't the case, contact us on Facebook and I'll get you sorted right away. With that out of the way, let's get into Loki Bass 2 in this DAW. So how about we solo this bass really quickly and I'll run through the different presets for you. So as you can see right here at the top, you have the preset loader, and upon loading Loki, you can pick one of the 6. We have clean DI, which is, as you would think, just a bass straight into the DI box, into an amazing audio interface with the cleanest cables and just a raw result from there. This way you can completely amp it and process it in any way you like. Maybe you have an amazing bass tone that you just want to use all the time. Go ahead and do it with clean DI. Then we have Loki Glass 1. This is based on the Dark Glass B7K tone, and it's essentially the same tone as Kraken Glass. So we definitely wanted to give you that tone because it's just that good. I didn't want to have anyone go like, oh, I really like the Kraken Glass. I wish I had it on Loki. It's right here in Loki Glass 1. Then we have Grindmeister. This tone was made with Parallax. We have Loki Glass 2, another dark glass tone. And then we have Chonky Wall and Time Wizard, who both were also made with Parallax. We really tried to go for a wide variety of tones that are still all very gent and core. Now, if that isn't for you, if you prefer a more versatile bass that isn't trying to go ham on those genres, Kraken will probably be better for you. But for Loki, we were going for that sound. That is mostly what Dingwalls are known for. So now let's see what Loki Glass sounds like soloed. Now we go to Grindmeister. As you can see, a very different tone. This one is way more dirty and gainy, let's say, far less clean than at Loki Glass 1. Then we go to Loki Glass 2. This one is far more low heavy. Then we have Chonky Wall. That is that high mid dirt. And then we have Time Wizard. I guess this would best be described as somewhere between that high mid dirt while also still having some of that balance. Finally, we'll check out Clean DI. Basically a clean tone, and you can go from there. Now my favorite is still Loki Glass 1, so we'll work with that for the rest of this tutorial. Now going over the various features inside Loki Bass 2. It's essentially the same as Kraken, so if you already know that, you don't have to watch the rest of this tutorial. So first of all, when you click on the Solemn Tones logo, you will always get a prompt showing you the version, essentially, of the plugin. So if you're not sure if you're up to date, you can always check this and then compare. Beyond that, we also have the active key switch pane. This one will basically tell you which key switch is currently activated. So let's say you want to go for only down picking, or you want to go for only slaps, because yes, Loki does have slaps. We'll go over that later. This will essentially tell you what you're playing with. Now next is a feature that's different from Kraken. This is octave drop. If you are using MIDI from Guitar Pro or Tux Guitar, or you just tend to write MIDI in that range, octave drop will change how the plugin reads your notes. Usually when you were working with Kraken, you would have to tune your notes up or down 12 semitones in order to be in the correct octave. So sometimes people would ask me, oh, it doesn't go below drop C. No, what you're hearing is actually an octave below drop C. And so by just clicking octave drop, now the octaves will line up with what you would be used to writing in perhaps another program. So if you're using MIDI that you haven't been using in Solemn Tones, click on octave drop and it will just automatically line up for you. Then we get to info. This will essentially tell you where all the key switches are. So you place a key switch inside piano roll, you know where to do that. So let's go over all these articulations actually. First of all, we have finger down legacy and finger up legacy. Now it says legacy because these samples are actually straight from Loki 1. So as I said, every sample in Loki 2 is new, completely re-recorded from scratch, except for these. So if you just want finger picking, you can use these, but be aware they do come from Loki 1. It is still the same bass though. Then G-2 is sliding mode. If you want to slide from one note to another, by using this key switch, you can do that. You can say, I want to slide from A to C, and at this speed, and so forth. G♯2 is hybrid stable. This is just a relic from Kraken essentially. You don't have to worry too much about this one. Then we have A-2, we have finger pluck open. So when you get into slap bass, yes, Loki can do slap, when you pluck and you're not muting, that's this one. Then you have finger pluck dead, that's when you pluck, but you are muting. So you're muting with the left hand while plucking with the right. Then we have thumb slap, which is your typical slap technique, and then left hand slap, which means your right hand is muting and you're slapping with your left on the neck. So by combining these 4 techniques, you are able to play slap bass with Loki Bass 2. So maybe you want to do some crazy prog, maybe you're trying to get those Abbasi vibe into your bass lines, you can, because of all these slap techniques. Next we have hammer-ons and pull-offs. This is something people really wanted out of Loki 1 as well, so we added those. Then we have natural harmonic mute, so yes, now we also have harmonics. We have scrapes, which is just all the little noises you can make with a pick. Then we have alternative picking, down picking, up picking, alternative mute picking. So if you're muting with your right hand, this is mostly to make some of those percussive sounds. And then down mute and up mute, same thing. Then we have slide up fast, slide up slow, slide down fast, and slide down slow, which are essentially just pre-recorded slides. So where in sliding mode, you can choose from which note to which note you go, here they are basically chosen for you. This is easier to write, it'll be quicker to get a result, but you won't have as much control. So as you can see, we have a lot of articulations you can use inside Loki Bass 2. I'm very, very proud of this. Then we have 2 more windows. We have playing and we have tone. Playing will let you affect how Loki Bass is played. You basically get to control the virtual player, whereas tone will let you control how what's played sounds. So let's go into the playing mode right now. First of all, we have bend intensity. So if you are writing in pitch bend modulation inside piano roll, you can draw in bends. Yes, we can. So there's some people who really want some bends, maybe a vibrato if you're going a bit more experimental. And so bend intensity will allow you to change how quickly Loki reacts to what you're drawing. Then there's decay intensity. This is essentially affecting the attack and sustain of notes. If you feel like something is blasting just a bit too aggressively, which can happen in metal perhaps, then you can turn up decay intensity and it will just smooth that out a little bit. Then there's tune. If you feel like, hey, all of my guitars are actually a bit sharp because the player is playing that aggressively and your bass is too in tune, you can actually tune it up a bit, or vice versa. This will also allow you to perhaps retune everything. I've heard some people want to tune to 432 Hertz on their A, and so if you want to do that, go right ahead. You can do it by ear, I guess. Personally, I stay away from this feature. I don't need it. Odin is perfectly in tune, Loki is perfectly in tune, Kraken is perfectly in tune. So they all work together, but if your situation requires it, you can use the tune knob. Then there's slide speed. This will affect how quickly your notes slide from one to the next when you are using the sliding mode key switch. Under here we have the human error mode. When turning this on, if you were using Loki 1 before, you remember the raw mode, which added all these little noises to make something sound more human, basically less perfect. Now you can actually choose which sounds you're triggering, and you can also choose how loud they are. Maybe you want to have some mute noises, but you don't want random string noises. You can turn off the string noises, turn up the mute noises, and so forth. It essentially lets you balance your own raw mode. Personally, I want my bass to just be tight and under the mix, so I always have this off. But if you want the bass to have a bit more of that realism, human error might be for you. Next we have force slap. This is more of a writing tool, I would say. What this will basically do is, when you turn it on, every single note will be slapped. Whether it's slap, finger plucks, taps, anything like that, it will be slap bass articulations. And by turning the modes from 1 to 2, 3, and 4, you can choose which articulations are being used. So these are pre-built patterns. So let's say you have a cool bass melody and you want to see what it sounds like in slap. Just click the button, go through 1, 2, 3, and 4, see which one you like. Maybe you find something you really love and you can just use it in your compositions as you see fit. If it's not for you, just turn it off and we are back to normal bass playing. Boom! We're quickly in a different project, the one where we actually covered Dig by Mudvayne to show off the slap function. So a lot of people like to go burr dang when using slaps, and so I just dug this up really quickly. Get it? Dug? Anyway, let's solo these. This is indeed Loki. It is still labeled Kraken because it's Kraken's DAW project, but as you can see, these two have Loki. So I split these up because we have our slaps all clean, and then we have our normal notes on Loki Glass 1. And that is essentially what the intro sounds like. So let's quickly go into the actual slap parts right here. So if you want to go burr dang, you absolutely can. Back to the video. So going back to the main menu, we can now go into tone, where we can affect what the bass sounds like. So we start off with a really simple EQ pane. We have our lows, our mids, our highs, and air. What I noticed in our old Loki bass, where we did have EQ, sometimes you want to affect high mids without affecting that crisp top end. By splitting these up, you can now do that. With your highs, you can more so affect the high mids without affecting that airy top. The air knob will allow you to do that instead. So it's giving you a bit more control essentially. Now, of course, if you want to use your own EQ plugin, go right ahead. This is just a quick, easy option for you. Then we have output. This will allow you to change how loud your bass is. Perhaps one preset is a bit louder than the other, a bit gainier, and so you can just change that right here. Or perhaps you wanted to hit your chain a bit hotter, maybe a bit less hot. It's just one less plugin you need to use in your chain to turn it up or down. Then we have enforce. Once again, if you used to use Loki 1, you remember we had a function that would replace the bottom end of your bass with a sine wave. That wave would then have very, very consistent sub information to really hold down that lower end. Now we just expanded that, just like on Kraken. By turning this on, the low end is still being replaced. I'll show you right here. But you can also go between different modes. So perhaps you don't want a pure sine wave. Maybe you want a bit more of that square in there. Not a perfect square because that would sound awful, but you know, a bit more jagged edges, let's say. Same with the third mode right here. Beyond that, you can also choose how loud it is. With enforce volume, you are able to say, maybe the sine wave shouldn't be quite as loud, or maybe it should be way louder. We can show that in here again. That's a bit much. I tend to like it, you know, in the lower half, let's say, but hey, if you want to use more, go right ahead. I'm not going to stop you. Next up, we have Devour Attack. This will essentially get rid of the impact of your note. Now, if you want your bass to sound natural, you keep this off. However, if you really want the most consistent low end and you don't care for realism, you just want this bass to shut up and be really down low in the mix, perhaps you want to get rid of some attack so it becomes essentially more like a synth. Personally, I keep this off, but again, some people like to get creative with that. Finally, we have artificial attack that will let you add in fake attack on top of that. So maybe you just want to turn off all the real attack and then add in the fake one to have the most consistent impacts ever. Go right ahead. So that was the quick walkthrough for Loki Bass 2. I hope you found this enjoyable. If you want to pick it up, you can use the code LAUNCHLOKI to get some percentages off on the website. This works for all products, by the way. But again, if you bought Loki 1, you get this one for free. Enjoy.